Hey everyone, Rarity Dash here. Time for another Patreon sponsored blind reaction. And this one comes to you courtesy of Cyan Draws, who has requested that I react to Film Theories' Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, Decoded. So, yeah, Film Theory talking about Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. This sounds like it could be pretty fun. This is a video that a lot of people brought up in the comments of my Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared reactions. And I'm very interested to see to see what is said here. This could be really cool. I mean, these videos are fascinating, I think. I mean, I've always been really interested in the meanings of the videos. I mean, there were theory videos even back in the day, like when it was only just the one Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared video, just the original. There were all these videos going into what they thought it meant. But I never really watched them because I was mostly just interested in my own interpretation, which I kind of got into a little bit at the start of my reaction to 4 and 5, where I kind of explained my history with the series. But yeah, I never really watched a lot of theory videos, but I am interested, especially from a channel like Film Theory, which I have seen several of these now, I think like 3 or 4 film theory videos. And they're always really pretty interesting and really well thought out. And I'm interested to see, yeah, just a take on this series from Film Theory. That could be pretty damn cool, especially since it is so highly recommended, and people do seem to view this as the definitive, like, guide to the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared series. This could be pretty interesting. It might help me look at these videos in a new light, though I don't think it will completely overwrite my own thoughts in regards to what they're all about. But we'll see. Here we go.
What's your favorite idea?
Gotta love it.
Mine is being
Creative.
Oh yeah? Well, mine is unraveling the mysteries of insane viral videos.
Okay, yeah, they are pretty insane. Oh. Yeah.
Hello, Internet.
That guy.
Welcome to Film Theory, the YouTube version of your uncle who thinks that everything is a conspiracy. Why, yes, Uncle Bob, I do think it's strange that you never see a baby pigeon, and I'm definitely interested to hear your theory about the government's involvement in that. Please tell me more. And it's that kind of mixture of insanity
I'd like to hear that.
analysis that brings us to today's topic, the independent internet darling, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. If you're unfamiliar with DHMIS, it's a series of short films with puppets that looks to be inspired by shows like Sesame Street. But hold on there, all you
yeah.
raising your kids off of YouTube videos. If any of you
Not
are
quite
looking it up
Sesame
right
Street.
now to show your children, you're probably gonna want to let me finish because each episode of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared features a bit of a dark turn towards the end, like arts and crafts with a real heart, or a giant can eating a duck alive. Oh yeah, you're in that part of YouTube again.
Yeah.
But even though Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is genuinely one of the weirdest things I've watched on YouTube, I really like it.
Yeah, it's great.
Really well done, and you should
It is.
absolutely watch it. At its core, this series is all about YouTube. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared's creators, Becky Sloan and Joseph Helling, pretty much started this from scratch on the site. The first episode came out only 3 months after I uploaded my first ever episode of Game Theory. It's a long time ago, so I feel like we have a kindred history here. But also I like it because this show refuses to be categorized. It's got puppets, but it also has animation in a lot of different styles. And then, if you wait long enough, it also has some live action sequences. All of these different styles are one of the things that makes it really hard to interpret. These videos aren't interested in playing by anybody else's rules, and that makes it really exciting to watch. But last, and probably most importantly, is the amazing attention to detail these videos have. The number of callbacks and Easter eggs in every episode is astounding. Some of them you have to practically watch frame by frame to even see. And you know that's the kind of stuff that makes me, and obviously tons of other theorists out there, really excited.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different ways to interpret Don't Hug Me, but today, for our first theory on this series, that's right, I said first, more on that later, we're gonna talk about what the whole thing means. An overview of the main themes of the whole series.
That seems difficult,
we're
but
not the first people to try and do this.
Yeah,
YouTube and Reddit were flooded with theories when the last episode went up. But I really tried to do my homework on this one, and I got an explanation for Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared that'll convince even the most skeptical of theorists. Be warned, comprehensive spoilers lie ahead, but then again, this
I've seen it all.
is on YouTube, and it's just 6 episodes between 3 and 8 minutes each, so just go watch it, like right now. Anyway, all ready? Fantastic. Let's get creative. If we're hoping to explain what's going on in Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, we first need to establish what kind of world we're in. A lot of theories look at the bizarre events in this series as evidence of something sinister, such as the three main characters, to whom I'll be referring to from here on out as the red guy, the yellow guy, and the duck, being stuck in purgatory or some sort of nightmare. To that I say, Occam's razor, my friend. A better explanation is one that's a lot simpler. These three are just stars of a children's television show. Granted, it might be a very nice children's television show.
Yeah,
There are several instances in which we see the inner workings of a television show. We see clapboards and cameras right in episode 1 at the start of the creativity montage. Then again in episode 4 when the red guy follows the computer wire to the next room, and in episode 6 as the lamp explains dreaming to the yellow guy. We can also tell that most of the time, these characters are on sets. This is most obvious when Duck revolts in episode 5, saying, the perspective of the video changes, indicating that Duck has hit the camera that's filming him, and when the camera looks upward, we can see the characters aren't actually in a house with a ceiling, a studio with lights overhead. The other obvious tip-off is that our three main characters are basically archetypes of what you'd see on Sesame Street. The yellow guy is a human puppet, like Bert or Ernie, the duck is an animal puppet, like Snuffleupagus or Big Bird, and the red guy is some sort of humanoid monster, like a Grover or Oscar the Grouch, or those aliens that go meep 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 all the time. Those things utterly freaked me out by and if this is indeed a TV show, it would explain some of the Easter eggs we keep seeing in later episodes. As Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared progresses, we start to see some of the same props appearing over and over again. At the beginning of episode 4, we can see a statue of Malcolm from the previous episode on the fireplace next to the clock. At the start of episode 5, we see the number chart the computer uses in episode 4 attached to the refrigerator, and then there are other props, like the red, blue, and yellow baseball cap that keeps showing up episode after episode. These aren't just cool Easter eggs, they're there for a reason, to decorate the set with props they've used before instead of having to buy entirely new props and set pieces every time. This is common not just within TV shows, but also across productions as a way to save money. There are examples of this practice all over film and TV, like the newspaper from No Country for Old Men showing up in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and even better, Modern Family. The armor from Starship Troopers also makes an appearance in Firefly, or Star Trek literally reusing an entire space station in two completely separate productions. There's one other juicy bit of theorist bait in episode 6 that strongly points to the whole thing being a TV show as well. When the yellow guy is in bed looking through his scrapbook, we see a picture of the red guy, who wasn't in episode 5 except for the credits, and whose bed is empty at the start of episode 6, wearing a graduation cap. Other theorists have suggested that this means that red guy is a teenager who grew up and went out to the real world, but going off to college is also a way for a television show to explain the sudden absence of a main character. For instance, at the end of season 4 of Blue's Clues, the original host Steve announces that he's leaving Blue to go off to college, when in actuality that was just the show transitioning to a new host, letting Steve go and do whatever weird artsy films that he's working on now. And no, internet, he did not go off and die of a head. He just did a TV show like 3 years ago. Fact check, internet. Man, you guys are dark. Then again, we are talking about a series of videos where one of the puppets dies in a vat of oil, and another gets his intestines ripped out. So, yeah. Internet is a dark, dark place. Alright, great. So Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is a kids' TV show. Awesome. But what does it mean? What the heck are the makers of the show trying to say? Well, the first part of this is fairly obvious. Television messages that are delivered to children are corrupting them as much as
that's the interesting part to me.
Street? Oh yeah, leading your kids down a dark path of brainwashing destruction. At least according to DHMIS. You don't think so? Just look at each episode. The pattern here is pretty clear. Each one has a theme you'd expect to see on a show like Sesame Street. Creativity, how time works, love, technology and computers, healthy eating, and dreams. But in every instance, that message gets corrupted. And not just by decaying flesh or catching your dad watching porn or art covered in glitter. Let's take it episode by episode. Episode 1 is all about the virtues of creativity, except it portrays certain types of creativity as being right and wrong. Green isn't a creative color, and that the yellow guy's picture of a clown deserves to be destroyed because it's somehow creative in the wrong way. Episode 2 tries to explain the concept of time. But that explanation is overly simplistic and teaches that time is important, even though kids still can't understand it from the way it's being taught. The clock answers questions about time like, "But when did it start?
And when will it stop?"
with weird, evasive answers like,
Yeah.
"It is important, and I am a clock."
When the duck finally tries to explain time scientifically, the clock yells until Yellow Guy's ears literally start to bleed. In episode 3, the Yellow Guy learns about love from a butterfly,
Pesky bee.
or bee,
A little
Yeah.
baby pigeon.
or little baby pigeon, or whatever, and teaches
I
them
don't
about
know.
feelings, but then later learns that love is only okay when it's followed in a certain way, particularly as it applies to religion. Episode 4 is all about computers and how they can teach us a lot about the world, but at the end simply conclude that in the digital world, people end up doing frivolous things like fashion and shopping and mindless entertainment. They're literally getting sucked into a computer and distracted with all these superficial things rather than the information they were looking for in the first place. Then in episode 5, the characters are supposed to learn about how to eat healthily, but the advice of the canned meat is confusing. And
Yeah, just a little bit confusing.
The pyramid is just terrifying.
That's great.
Can easily be sorted using the simple health shade.
Don't think I
It's
even
also
processed
about
that when I
how
watched
certain
it.
name brand products are good for you and others are bad. The underlying theme here is clear. The kid show these 3 characters are in throughout the entirety of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared sets out to deliver lessons about the world, but either fails miserably or succeeds in intentionally brainwashing kids to a specific point of view. But why? Why are the creators of the show so cynical about kids' programming? Are they
I
trying
mean-
to say that there's some big conspiracy behind kids' TV shows?
I
Well,
think there might be.
yeah, actually. Definitely seems that way. Dig a little bit deeper and there's evidence that the show's creators are railing against not just kids' TV, but the makers of kids' TV and what their goals really are. Not in
I don't know if it's
making
just kids'
but
TV.
in making money.
I mean, that is
Throughout the series, we see visuals
what we're
all
parodying,
about earning
but-
money, such as the very first thing you see in Don't Hug Me, a newspaper which reads, "Stocks flying high," along with a figure that seems to imply that the value of the British pound is increasing. We also have subtler clues, like a board game in the background of episode 4 that's titled Money Win. But the most important element of this is in a very small detail. Any fan of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared knows that each of the episodes takes place on June 19th. But what you have to look closer to see is the year. You can actually figure it out from episode 1. That newspaper headline about stocks soaring in the UK is no accident, and it's not fiction. If you look at stock records for June 19th over the last 100 years, there's one year in particular where stock markets were hitting record highs on that date in 1955. In 1955,
Interesting.
stock markets all over the world, including the US and UK, broke practically every record imaginable when the markets opened. And if this was good evidence in episode 1, in episode 2, we get our definitive proof. When the clock mentions that the past is far behind us, we see a picture of all 3 main characters with the date underneath that reads 1906-55. The 1906 part obviously stands for June 19th, since the Brits put their date before the month, with the 55 confirming our
It would
year.
make sense
But
the other way
why?
around.
Why 1955? Well, 1955 was actually a huge deal in British television history. Prior to 1954, the British Broadcasting Corporation, or BBC, held a monopoly on British television. But it was 1954 that the UK passed what became known as the Television Act, in an effort to bring an end to that BBC monopoly. This act led to the establishment of the first alternative network called ITV, for independent TV, in 1954. While the BBC is sponsored by the British government, ITV is independent and therefore has to make its money through advertising. Now, in interpreting this series, other YouTube channels, most notably YouTube Explained, have covered this topic, but they've said in the context of Don't Hug Me that this was a good evolution. I see it the opposite way, and I'm pretty sure the creators of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared would agree, and here's why. This was the first time that advertising appeared in British television, marking an inflection point at which television went from a medium to communicate and entertain to a medium to make a profit, thereby giving executives and advertisers as much and oftentimes more power than the creators. And Britain was especially sensitive to TV advertising. I mean, in the US, we were already used to interrupting TV programs with ads, or not even interrupting them at all. In the US, it was actually standard practice at the time to bleed those regular shows into an ad. So one minute you'd be watching the Flintstones, and then all of a sudden they'd be selling you cigarettes.
Yeah.
No joke. Or watching a game show and then being sold dishwasher detergent in the middle. One piece of evidence that was used against ads was that in the US, the coverage of Queen Elizabeth's coronation was interrupted by a commercial with a dancing monkey named J. Fred Muggs. The British
Why not? Why not?
advertisements like that embarrassing and quite frankly rude. You don't interrupt their queen with a monkey. So 1954 and 1955 were years that were filled with debates about when and how to allow ads onto TV. And if the behavior of Becky and Joe, Don't Hug Me I'm Scared's creators, is any indication, the issue of ads influencing TV is a big concern of theirs. According to the newspaper The Guardian, Becky and Joe received offers from more mainstream sources to make episodes of Don't Hug Me, but turned them all down and funded the project themselves through Kickstarter. Joe Pelling was quoted as
I wonder if
saying,
that's the
"We
case
wanted
with
to
the
keep
new
it
thing they're
fairly
doing."
odd and have the freedom to keep doing exactly what we wanted." The implication here is clear. If Don't Hug Me I'm Scared were made for television, it would have had to have been approved by other people whose interests would have been for profit or popularity, not about the message of the show. And when you look at these 6 episodes, it's pretty clear that the messages for a positive, good, inspirational, entertaining kids show are there, but they've been perverted by the influence of an outside force. Don't Hug Me I'm Scared is ultimately a parable for the loss of control that artists trade off when they work on bigger screens. Their messages are manipulated and their morals are poisoned by others with ulterior motives. And with that, I'm gonna have to leave you hanging. I know, I'm sorry. I recognize that we're just starting to scratch the surface of this series.
Yeah.
Establishing this series as a launching point was really important for answering all the other questions that we haven't gotten a chance to touch on today. Who are these characters, really? What is the significance of June 19th? What about Roy, the ominous lurking figure the yellow guy claims is his dad? And what does the ending mean? But don't worry, we're getting to all those questions and more in just another week, which means that the lesson of today is subscribing. Subscribing is a good idea if you want to see the videos when they come out.
Catchy.
Subscribe. And in the meantime, remember, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Okay, well, there we go. Well, that was good. That was interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Some interesting thought. The whole 1955 thing, I never would have got that, I don't think. I mean, the date, it's right there, but that's such a small detail that I don't think I ever would have noticed it. But, yeah, I don't know if advertising really is that big a part of it, to be true. Like, doesn't really seem. I mean, I guess it's a part of like 5, but doesn't really feel like the kind of messaging that it's talking about is the kind that comes from advertisers. I mean, rather than the ad ran network, I think more the government ran one is what we're maybe more talking about, even though not really much evidence of that either, but just it's about messages that control you. But I guess the reason for the control is interesting, but I don't really see... It's not telling you to buy anything. It's not really... It's more about acceptable behaviors and acceptable thought. And that's not really something that... I mean... I don't know. I don't really know if the advertising angle is that integral to it. I mean, it just seems like a pretty small element. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it was well presented. There was a lot here, and I think it would be worthwhile to watch his other videos. But I feel like I don't know, that kind of just missed the mark a little bit. I don't really get that from these videos at all, that it's about advertiser messages. But I might be wrong. And I don't really think that them saying they didn't want to do it with like they didn't want to source it out to anyone, they didn't want to take on like that kind of they wanted to do it on their own and just they crowdfunded it. I don't think that's proof that that's really the thing. It's more I think just about creative control in a more general sense. I mean, even if yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure, but it was definitely an interesting video, and he's good at doing these. I like the film theory stuff. It's always very fun to watch, and yeah, good stuff. Anyway, hope you liked the reaction. Let me know if you did, and see you in the next one.